To, on behalf of Mike and Ann and Mary, just extend an appreciation for all of you coming here and welcoming everybody here. And know that we had several people travel, several states to get here. And this is, obviously an important event for our families and for us, and we really appreciate everybody being here. And with that, I'm going to turn over the mic to Matron of Honor, Melissa Blischak, who's going to give the toast.
Hello, everyone. All right, as you may know, I'm Jen's older sister, Melissa, and the story of how we met isn't very interesting. She was born, and I was there. So I thought I'd tell you the story of how Jim and I met. Oh yeah. So back in 2003, I was a freshman at Ohio University, and I majored in engineering. Oh yeah, go you. And one of the required courses was calculus. And our instructor was this odd individual, and he would tell these terrible jokes, and no one would laugh. Well, almost no one. So there was this guy, and he sat in front of me, and he was constantly turning around to see if me and this other girl were laughing. We were not. And so throughout the quarter, Jim and I would make chit-chat, and at the end of the quarter, he asked if I wanted to study for the final. And I decided, okay, I need to study. I'm gonna study with this guy. And so that's how Jim and I began our friendship, and we got each other through countless exams and projects, and by the end, we had an engineering degree and a real friendship. After graduation, I moved to Illinois, and Jim moved to DC. We would still call each other and get each other through the newfound struggles of adulthood, just as we got each other through school. Then one day, back in 2011, Jim called me. He was having a rough time, but he had finally figured it out. He knew what he wanted in a wife. Now, this is a man that I've seen take literally 5 minutes to pick out a bag of potato chips, which people here can testify to. So you can imagine that figuring out what he wanted in a wife was really getting to him, but he finally figured it out. He wanted someone who was smart and kind, someone who came from a good family, who he could get along with easily, and above all else, he wanted someone who shared his religious convictions. Without even actively thinking about it, my sister came to my mind. Obviously, she gets big check marks, especially with having a great family. Additionally, I knew she had one more quality which was important in Jim's future wife. Jen thinks Jim is hilarious in everything that he does. It reminds me of something my mom used to say when we were in college. She would say, "That Jim is so quirky. He needs to find a woman who appreciates that about him." Jim was still living in DC when he called me, and Jen was living in Dayton, so I didn't say anything, even after Jim moved back to Cleveland. Because I knew that neither of them were really interested in a long-distance relationship. So shortly after Jim moved back to Cleveland, my husband and I got engaged, and we went out to celebrate. We invited Jim and Jen to come along with us. And I could tell when they were hanging out that they were interested in each other. But I knew that they were going to need some help getting the ball rolling. So my husband and I started walking several paces behind them so that they would conveniently be together. So Jim was oblivious to what we were doing, but Jen picked up on it. And so, yes, you are very smart. And so this was like September, the original time, and then we went out again at Thanksgiving, and then we went out again at Christmas. And so the last time we went out at Christmas, Jen confronts me. She says, "Is this a date?" And I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about. This is definitely not a date." So I may have told a small lie, but I knew that Jen would refuse to come if she thought I was pressuring her. Yes. And even more importantly, I am Jen's big sister, And the funny thing about little sisters is they tend to ignore what their big sisters say, even if it's completely right. Right. So, small lie. And that kind of, so that day helped us bring us here to this day. A friend of mine is an only child, and he asked me what it was like to have a sibling. And at the time, I didn't really know what to say. So I thought about it. And I realized that having a sibling is like being married. First of all, you are bound together for life, no matter what. You may not say the words, but by the very nature of your birth, you are promising to stick together for better or worse in sickness and in health. Although sometimes in sickness means actually sharing the sickness. Jen has me to thank for having chicken pox one Christmas. Sorry. Your sibling teaches you how to share your living space. I learned that my post-shower puddles were not appreciated, and Jen learned that I did not appreciate having a huge pile of pajamas by the bathroom door. Now, notice I said she learned I didn't appreciate it, didn't necessarily do anything about it. And of course, I'm not as much of a neat freak as Jim is, so living with me may not have done you any good. I think the strongest analogy between having a sibling and having a spouse is, even though they may drive you crazy sometimes, you'll love them forever. I love you, Jen, and wish you nothing but happiness from this day forward. I ask that you all raise your glasses to Jen and Jim. May you be forever teammates, and may your love and happiness grow with each passing day. Cheers.
Thank you, Melissa. Well, it is just